power was the promotion of closer contacts between East and West Europe, a policy continued this year by Willy Brandt, the socialist Chancellor of West Germany. He had 2 meetings with his opposite number in East Germany, Herr Willi Stoff, in an attempt to reduce the tensions and suspicions that exist between the 2 halves of a divided Germany. The meetings didn't achieve much. They weren't expected to. They were the first ever between prime ministers from the 2 Germanys, and some West Germans protested strongly. But they didn't stop Brandt from developing wider contacts in Eastern Europe. West Germany signed treaties, first with the Soviet Union and then with Poland, accepting the permanence of European frontiers, and talks between Bonn and Prague have been promised for next year. While Brandt was normalizing relations with Eastern Europe, the 2 superpowers were also engaged in an important dialogue. At meetings here in Vienna and in Helsinki, the Americans and Russians tried to make the world a safer place by seeking means to reduce their stockpiles of strategic arms. The talks are still going on, and early results have been encouraging. Paradoxically, though tensions eased between the 2 halves of Europe, some countries found their domestic politics in a state of upheaval. Nowhere was this more true than in Italy, where President Saragat spent a frustrating year trying to solve one political crisis after another. Virtually all spheres of Italian life were affected by a loss of confidence in government. Workers frequently went on strike, and students protested in the streets. In June, the nation voted for a new regionalization policy designed to end the age-old division between rich North and poor South. But one of its immediate effects was to create even more turmoil in the southern town of Reggio. Rioting began when citizens of Reggio protested against the decision to make the neighboring town of Catanzaro the capital of the new region. For 3 months, throughout the long, hot summer of southern Italy, the disturbances continued. Eventually, troops were sent in to restore order, but by that time, 3 people had been killed and hundreds injured. The Japanese, too, had a victory of sorts in 1970, the successful staging in Osaka of a world fair known as Expo 70. "78 countries took part in the fair, whose theme was progress and harmony for mankind. Over 60 million people passed through the turnstiles to wander among the various national pavilions that displayed the most advanced products of man's ingenuity. During its 6-month run, Expo brought in £11 million, and like most Japanese enterprises, it made a handsome profit. Asia was also the destination this year of Pope Paul VI, who travelled 30,000 miles, visiting 8 countries in less than 2 weeks. His tour nearly ended in tragedy almost before it had begun. At Manila Airport, a man disguised as a priest rushed at the Pope with a knife. The would-be assassin, a Bolivian, was bundled away by security police. The Pope was unharmed and carried on as though nothing had happened. After the Philippines, the Pontiff made a brief stop in Samoa before continuing on to Australia, where he spent 2 days in Sydney before returning home via Indonesia and Hong Kong. He'd begun his journey amid rumours that he was ill and that he soon planned to retire. But despite the exhausting schedules, he maintained a vigorous pace that belied his 73 years.